Ava sat quietly at the top of the stairs, holding her breath. Below, in the kitchen, her parents were talking. At first, their voices were low. But then she heard her mother clearly. "She's a burden, Greg. She'll never make anything of herself." Ava froze. Her heart beat faster, but she didn't move. Her father didn't say anything right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was tired. "She's just different." "Different," her mother snapped. "She hides in her room all day, writing in those silly notebooks. She has no future, Greg. She's not like Zara." Still, her father said nothing. That silence hurt more than all the harsh words. He didn't argue. He didn't defend her. It felt like he agreed. Ava's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't let them fall. Slowly, quietly, she stood up and tiptoed back to her room. She looked around. Her small desk, her favorite books, the soft light from her bedside lamp. The only place she ever felt safe. She grabbed her backpack. A few clothes, her writing journal, her favorite book, and an old photo of her and Noah. They were smiling in it, young and happy. She tucked it inside. Then she found a piece of paper and a pen. Her hand shook as she wrote, "Don't look for me. I'm not coming back until I'm someone worth missing. Ava." She walked to the kitchen and placed the letter on the table. Her mother's planner and a pile of unopened mail were right beside it. She stood there for a moment, listening. The house was quiet again. No one had noticed her moving around. She opened the front door. The night air was cold on her face. She pulled her hoodie tighter and stepped outside. The sky was dark, and the street was empty. As she walked away from the house, she didn't look back, not until she reached the corner. Then she stopped and turned. The lights in the house were still on, but it looked like a place she didn't belong to anymore. Maybe she never had. Ava turned away and kept walking into the night. Before she disappeared, Ava lived in a house where silence spoke louder than. She was 17, quiet, and full of dreams. More than anything, she loved to write. Stories, poems, even letters she never sent. Writing made her feel alive, like she mattered. But at home, no one seemed to understand that. Her mother, Julia, thought writing was a waste of time. She wanted Ava to be more like Zara. Confident, smart, popular. Zara was good at sports, got top grades, and smiled in family photos. Everyone praised her. Julia called her the future. Ava, on the other hand, was called too soft. Julia didn't hide her disappointment. "You always have your head in the clouds," she would say. "You need to wake up and live in the real world." Ava tried. She really did. She studied hard, even when she didn't believe in herself. She sat at the dinner table pretending everything was fine. But the coldness in the house was always there. Her mother's sharp words, her father's quiet looks. Greg, her dad, never raised his voice, but that didn't make things better. He never stood up for Ava. When Julia criticized her, he just stayed quiet. Sometimes he looked sad, but he never said a word. It felt like Ava was invisible. Her room was the only place she felt safe. The walls were lined with books. There were sticky notes with story ideas on her desk, poems taped to her mirror, and a small lamp that gave off a warm yellow glow. When the door was closed, it was like the rest of the world didn't exist. That room was hers. It didn't judge her. It didn't ask her to be someone else. Still, Ava often felt alone. No one at school really noticed her, except Ms. Robbins, her English teacher. Ms. Robbins was kind, with soft eyes and a calm voice. She saw something in Ava that no one else did. She once pulled her aside after class and said, "You have a gift. Don't let small minds define your worth." Ava never forgot those words. Sometimes she would stay after school just to talk with her. They talked about books, about college, and sometimes about life. Ms. Robbins encouraged her to submit her writing to contests, to believe in herself, even when it felt impossible. But at home, things never changed. Every report card was a reminder that she wasn't enough. Every family dinner was filled with fake smiles and quiet tension. Julia praised Zara in front of guests, showing off her medals and awards. Ava usually stayed in her room during those moments, pretending she had homework. Even small things were difficult. If Ava laughed too loud, Julia would tell her to act like a lady. If she dressed differently or wore too much black, her mother would shake her head and say, "You're doing this for attention." It wore Ava down, slowly, silently. And yet, she kept writing. In her journal, on scraps of paper, in her mind during long bus rides. Her stories were her way out, even if just for a little while. She dreamed of leaving one day, not to hurt anyone, but to find a place where she could just be herself. A place where she didn't have to earn love by being perfect. She didn't hate her family. She just couldn't survive in that house much longer. And so, the quiet girl with the big heart and even bigger dreams began to plan her escape. It had been a hard day. Ava had just come back from a college interview that went terribly wrong. She had practiced her answers, dressed neatly, and even brought a few writing samples. But the interviewer didn't seem interested. He barely looked at her work and ended the meeting early. On the way home, Ava stared out the bus window, her heart heavy. Maybe her parents were right. Maybe she was wasting her time. That night at dinner, everything got worse. They were sitting at the table when Julia asked about the interview. Ava quietly said it didn't go well. Her mother rolled her eyes. "Well, that's no surprise," she said, cutting into her food. "You think writing little stories is going to impress anyone?" Ava looked down. Greg didn't say anything. He just kept eating. Zara shifted uncomfortably. "Mom," she tried to say, but Julia cut her off. "Zara, don't start. Your sister needs to hear the truth for once." Ava sat in silence, trying not to cry. She felt like the walls were closing in. She left the table early and went upstairs without a word. Later that night, she was walking to the kitchen when she heard them talking again. She paused in the hallway, hidden in the shadows. "I just don't have much hope for her anymore," Julia said. Greg sighed. "She's struggling, Julia. She's not going anywhere. She's not Zara. We need to accept that." Ava stood there frozen. She didn't make a sound, but something inside her broke. She turned around, walked back to her room, and closed the door. Her hands were shaking, but her mind was clear. She packed her bag quietly. Just the essentials, some clothes, her notebook, her favorite book, and a little bit of money she had saved. Then she wrote the letter. "Don't look for me. I'm not coming back until I'm someone worth missing. Ava." She left it on the kitchen table. In the middle of the night, with everyone asleep, she walked out of the house. No phone, no social media, no goodbye. The next morning, Julia found the letter. She didn't cry, she was furious. She called the police, but Ava was already gone. Greg was pale and quiet, staring at the words over and over again. Zara begged to know where her sister went, but no one had answers. The house fell into a strange silence. At school, Noah waited for Ava at their usual bench, not knowing she was never coming back. When he heard the news, he didn't believe it at first. Then he searched for her. He called her phone, messaged her online, even asked her teachers, but nothing. She was gone. Ms. Robbins was heartbroken. She left school at the end of that year. Some said she moved away. Others said she just couldn't take it anymore. The Morgans stopped talking about Ava after a while. At least, not in front of others. But the silence in that house grew heavier every day. Zara kept the letter. She read it again and again, wishing she had said something that night. Anything. But now it was too late. 7 years had passed. Ava Morgan was no longer the quiet, scared girl who had walked out into the night. Now she was Ava Lane, a published author, known for her emotional novels and raw, honest writing. Her first book had become a surprise bestseller. Now, she was being honored at a literary award ceremony held in the very town she once ran away from. She hadn't planned to come back, but the invitation to receive the award in person was too big to ignore. Still, she used her pen name, hoping no one would notice. She arrived quietly, keeping her head down. Her long hair was tied back, her dress simple but elegant. She looked different, stronger. But inside, her heart was pounding. When she stepped onto the stage to speak, the room filled with applause. She took a deep breath and began to talk about her journey as a writer. She avoided personal details. She wasn't ready for that. Then she saw him. In the middle of the crowd, standing at the back, Noah Harper. His eyes locked on hers, wide with disbelief. He looked older, his face sharper, but his expression was the same. Shock, hope, pain. Ava lost her words for a second. Her hands trembled. She quickly finished her speech and left the stage. Outside, in the hallway, she leaned against the wall, breathing hard. She wasn't ready to see him, or anyone, but fate had other plans. 2 days later, she was at a bookstore downtown for a signing event. She wore sunglasses and kept things short with readers. She thought she was doing a good job staying hidden, until she heard a familiar voice behind her. "Ava." She turned slowly. It was Zara. She was taller now, more confident, but her eyes held the same fire. Ava froze. Zara didn't smile. Her face was tight with emotion. "You didn't even say goodbye," she said. Her voice shook with anger. "You left me with them. Do you know what that did to me?" Ava tried to speak, but nothing came out. "I needed you," Zara said louder now. "And you disappeared like I didn't matter." Ava looked down. "I was drowning, Zara. I had nothing left. I thought you'd be better off without me." "That's a lie," Zara snapped. "You were the only one who saw me. And you left." They stood there, the silence heavy between them. Finally, Zara spoke again. "Mom wants to have dinner. She knows you're here." Ava blinked. "What?" "She saw your face on the news. She knows who you are." Ava didn't want to go. Every part of her said no. But something deeper, maybe guilt, maybe curiosity, made her say yes. That night, she walked up the old driveway again. The house hadn't changed. Same paint, same porch, same quiet. Inside, Julia greeted her like she had just come back from a weekend trip. "Oh, look at you," she said, forcing a smile. "You've grown into such a lovely young woman. I always knew you would." Greg stood in the corner. He looked like he wanted to say something, but he couldn't meet Ava's eyes. He looked older, smaller, worn down. Dinner was awkward. Julia talked a lot, pretending everything was fine. She spoke about Ava's books like she had supported her all along. I always said you had talent, she said. Ava said nothing. She just watched her mother closely, trying to see if she was serious or just playing a game. Greg stayed mostly quiet. Once or twice, he glanced at Ava with a look that almost said sorry, but the words never came. After dinner, Ava walked around the house alone. Her old room was now a storage space. The posters were gone, the bookshelves empty. Memories came rushing back, the long nights crying into her pillow, the fights, the silence. And after she left, the years of struggle. She remembered sleeping in a shelter her first night away, remembered working in a diner, washing dishes all night, writing short stories on paper napkins during breaks. There were nights she was so cold she thought she'd never wake up. But she kept writing. Writing saved her. She found an old notebook in the closet, one of hers. She opened it. The words were messy but full of feeling, a piece of her old self. Back downstairs, Julia was still talking, this time to Zara. She was always meant for something more, she said. I told your father, didn't I, Greg? I told you she'd make it. Greg didn't answer. Ava stood in the doorway, listening. You used to call me a burden, she said quietly. Julia turned. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. People say things when they're stressed. No, Ava said, stepping forward. You meant it. You didn't believe in me. And now you want to rewrite the story. Julia's smile faded. I did the best I could. No, Ava said again, her voice calm but firm. You did what made you feel better. Not what I needed. Zara watched them both in silence. Julia said nothing more. The room felt colder now. Ava looked at Greg one last time. He still wouldn't look at her. I came back for the award, she said, turning to leave. Not for this. And just like before, she walked out the front door. But this time, she wasn't running. She was choosing. The award gala was held in a bright, elegant hall filled with writers, editors, readers, and reporters. Ava stood near the back of the room, quietly watching the crowd. People smiled at her, congratulated her, asked for photos. She gave polite answers and small smiles, but inside she felt tired. This wasn't her kind of place. All the lights and attention made her want to disappear again. She walked toward the stage where the final award of the night would be given, a special honor for her first book. It was the biggest moment of her career so far. But just as she reached the stairs, she froze. Julia Morgan was sitting in the front row, dressed in expensive clothes, hair perfectly done, smiling like a proud mother waiting to be seen. Ava's stomach turned. She hadn't invited her. She hadn't even told her about the event. As the host called her name, the crowd clapped and stood. Ava walked to the microphone, heart pounding. Her hands felt cold. Julia gave her a little wave from her seat. Ava stood still for a moment, looking out at all the faces. Then she took a deep breath. I want to thank you all, she began. Not just for this award, but for listening to my story. She paused, then looked straight at Julia. I became a writer because I was invisible in my own home, she said. I wrote stories so I wouldn't forget who I was. The room grew quiet. When no one believed in me, I wrote. When I felt worthless, I wrote. When I had no one to talk to, I created characters who did. People in the audience looked at each other. Julia's smile faded. I didn't write for fame or awards. I wrote because I needed to survive. The silence after her speech was heavy, not awkward but powerful. Then slowly people started to clap. Some stood again. But Ava didn't look proud. She walked off the stage with her head down. Outside, she found a quiet corner near the garden. She needed air. Noah was already there, waiting. He didn't speak right away. He just looked at her with hurt in his eyes. You really weren't going to say anything to me. I didn't know how, Ava said. I waited. I searched everywhere. For years, he said. I didn't stop. Ava's voice cracked. Because I didn't think anyone would care. I thought everyone would just move on. Noah stepped closer. I never did. I would have come for you. I would have helped. Ava wiped her eyes. I didn't believe that. Not back then. I didn't even believe in myself. For a moment, they stood in silence. The hurt was still there, but so was something else. Understanding. Just then, Zara walked over. She looked serious, like she had been holding something in for a long time. There's something I never told you, she said to Ava. After you left, Dad, he broke down. He told me he regretted everything. Not standing up for you. Not saying anything. He wanted to find you. Ava looked confused. Then why didn't he? Because Mom stopped him, Zara said. She told him it was better to let you go. That you had made your choice. She didn't want anyone bringing up your name again. Ava's eyes filled with tears. He could have written. He could have. He tried. I saw the letter once. Mom tore it up. Ava felt her knees weaken. Everything made more sense now. All the silence. All the pain. Later that night, after most of the guests had left, Ava found Julia near the exit. You had no right to show up tonight, Ava said. Julia looked calm. I'm your mother. You weren't, Ava said. Not really. Julia narrowed her eyes. So this is how it is now? You're the hero, and I'm the villain? You tried to erase me, Ava said. Even after I left, you kept control. I did what I had to do, Julia said coldly. No, Ava said, her voice rising. You did what made you feel strong. You didn't care how it hurt me. Or Dad. Or Zara. Julia looked away. Then, for the first time, her face cracked. Her voice came out low, almost like a whisper. You reminded me too much of myself. Ava blinked. What? I was soft too, Julia said. I wanted to write. I wanted more than this town. But I failed. So when I saw you chasing the same dreams, it scared me. I didn't want you to end up like me. But I'm not you, Ava said. And you don't get to take credit for who I became. Julia said nothing. Ava stepped back. Goodbye, Mom. Then she turned and walked away, not with anger, but with peace. Ava didn't go back to the Morgan house after the gala. She didn't call. She didn't answer texts. She knew this wasn't about punishing anyone. It was about protecting herself. She had carried that pain for too long, and going back would only open the same wound. She sat alone in her hotel room that night, looking out at the small town she used to call home. It didn't feel like home anymore, but that was okay. She didn't need to belong here. She had built a new life, one that didn't depend on anyone's approval. The next morning, Zara came to see her. This time, there was no anger, just quiet between them. I'm not mad anymore, Zara said. Just sad. I missed you. I missed you too, Ava said. I thought I had to let go of everything to survive. I didn't know I could keep you. They sat on the bed, not saying much. It didn't need to be fixed all at once. They were sisters, starting over, not as the scared girls they used to be, but as two young women trying to heal. I still have your letter, Zara said. The one you left on the kitchen table. Ava looked down. I meant every word. Back then, I didn't think anyone would ever miss me. Well, I did, Zara said softly. Later that week, Noah took Ava to their old high school. They climbed up to the rooftop, the same place they used to sneak off to during lunch. The view was the same, the sky above, the schoolyard below. But they were different now. They sat side by side, legs hanging over the edge, not speaking at first. Then Ava turned to him. I'm not broken anymore, she said. But I'll always have cracks. Noah smiled. Cracks let the light in. She looked at him. Thank you for not giving up on me. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Somewhere across town, in a quiet little house filled with old books and dusty shelves, Ms. Robbins sat in her reading chair with a warm cup of tea. She was turning the last page of Ava's novel. As she closed the book, she smiled, soft and proud. She had known from the very beginning. Ava was never just a lost girl. She was a storyteller, a fighter, someone who would rise, even from the hardest fall. And now the world knew it too. Ava sat at the small desk in her hotel room, the early morning sun shining through the window. In front of her was a blank sheet of paper. For a long time, she just stared at it. Then slowly she began to write. Dear me, you were never a failure. You were just a girl who needed to be loved without rules or conditions. It wasn't your fault they didn't see you. You did the brave thing, you left. You kept going even when it was hard, even when you were alone. I'm proud of you. I'm here now and I see you. You made it. Love. Me. She folded the letter carefully, slid it into an envelope, and wrote the address of her old house on the front. The same house where she once felt so small. She didn't expect anyone to read it. That wasn't the point. Later, she walked to the mailbox on the corner and dropped it in. The sound of the letter falling was quiet, but it felt like something heavy had been lifted. As she walked down the street, the sun warmed her face. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. In her heart, she knew the truth. I didn't come back for them, her voice whispered inside her. I came back for me. Hey besties. Thanks so much for watching till the end. If Ava's journey moved you, don't forget to like, share, and drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And of course, hit that subscribe button for more emotional, drama-filled stories. Until next time, stay kind, stay strong.